what's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Refuse to Fail. I almost called it the old name, but it's not that anymore. We are a reband, but we've got the same quality, same great guests. Everything's up to the nines. I've spent ages going away and learning, and now we're working hard on it. And I'm joined today by Toulouse Olympic Rugby League player, former Wasp, London Irish, Toulon, even the Broncos, England age grade superstar, Rugby League's answer to Emily in Paris. We've got Guy in Toulouse. How are you getting on, mate? How are you?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm good. You know, just settling in, coming to the end of pre-season, so just excited for the new season ahead, really.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. You must be enjoying getting out to train in the sun, though, now that you're back away from England. Have you just got? When did you get back to the south of France from England?
What is it? New Year's Day. So I had a week off over Christmas. Got back New Year's Day, back into training, but it's actually it's -1 right now, so I've got the English weather with me.
Mate, come to Scotland. It's warmer in Scotland. I was on a jog at lunch, man. That's how. You sure didn't get on the wrong flight?
I think so. Well, my wife's here, so I feel like I went the right way.
Man, I'm glad to hear it. But how was it? How was it nice to see the family over Christmas? Obviously, you guys don't get that much time. You get very regimented time off. So how was it just to get the whole family together and relax?
Yeah, I mean, for the first time in many, many years, we've actually managed to get Christmas off at the same time. There's usually someone playing Boxing Day, training Christmas Eve. There's all sorts, but there's usually always one person missing. But this year, everyone was at home, so it was really nice.
And how's dad life treating you? Obviously, you're still new to that, but you seem to be thriving on the old Instagram. So how's that going?
Yeah, it's just a snippet, a real small snippet. The rest of the time involves any power naps and any other time I can get. But no, the Instagram bit's the good bit, the bit that makes it all worth it. So yeah.
I'm glad. You must be missing every now and again. You're like, I wish I was on the field instead of having to deal with this. Like, I'm better on the field.
I mean, I will be soon. I'll have to just, I'll go, oh, sorry, I'll be back in a couple of days. He's got an away game. I'll be in the hotel bed getting 10 hours of sleep.
You've had the bag packed for like 3 days. Like, you're not leaving till Friday. Where are you going? You're like, oh, we're doing team bonding. We're going away on the Thursday.
Yeah, I think I've used all of them up.
Amazing. Well, before we get deep into the story of Guy Armitage, I'm really eager to get the quick fires underway because this is how the guests get to see what's going on under those incredible dreads you've got going there.
These old things.
Just an accessory at this point. Right, so nice and easy one to start you off on the good old Refuse to Fail quick fires. Tea or coffee? What's your go-to?
Coffee.
Nice. That's probably the baby that's caused that one, but there we go.
Yeah. More coffee these days.
Right, night out or a night in?
Oh, night in lately.
I love that. I respect that.
Yeah.
Right, if you had to get rid of one to never exist tomorrow, would you get rid of rugby, league and union, or dogs? You can only keep one.
See my dog staring at me. Rugby.
Do you know everybody except two have said they're sport? So like the sport seems to be quite easily to chuck off the face of the earth.
Yeah, my dog's Flash won't be too happy.
Right, you're on like a relaxation night. Are you more likely to go for a Netflix series or a movie? Other streaming platforms are available.
I actually weigh them up most nights. I think, I'll watch a movie. I'll be like, no, it's a bit long, and then I'll watch 4 or 5 episodes of a series, twice as long as a movie.
But you feel like you've got further when you've done that, though. You feel like you've been more rewarded for 5 episodes of a series.
Yeah, but yeah, the movie's way too long, but not half a series.
Yeah, easily done. Easily done. Right, would you more like to play rugby in the Syrian heat or the torrential rain? Like, if you could pick out of the two types of forecast.
Is it warm when it's raining?
Oh, good question. We'll go with no. We'll go traditional English rain, like your November, February type fixture.
I'll go heat, because then everyone's in pure panic. It's not a case of being wet. Everyone's just like, I need a drink.
Amazing. Right, you're just on the way to something you're driving. Are you either going to go for a playlist or the radio in the car?
Oh, playlist.
Nice. We're going to dive into the music at the end of this podcast, don't you worry. Right, socks and sliders. Is that socially acceptable, yes or no?
Yes.
Correct answer. trying to get something organized with the boys, are you more likely to FaceTime the group or just text until you eventually get it sorted out?
Text and eventually get it sorted out. Very eventually.
The day before the flight's due to take off, and it's like, fine, I'll go.
Yep, pretty much.
Right, sweet or salted popcorn?
Both.
Oh, you're a monster. Anarchist.
Yep.
Right, if you could only keep one social platform, Twitter or Instagram?
Instagram.
Why would you get rid of Twitter?
Don't know.
Apart from the fact it's a cesspit of hatred.
That's not why I use it. I use it for news and to follow sports scores.
Same.
Yeah. Actually, I might not know what's going on. I think
I know, I find more from Twitter. Right, if you could only live in one universe, would you choose Star Wars or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Nice, good answer.
I'll be relaxing in the Shire.
Mate, come live near me. It's pretty much is the Shire. Just old people in hills. That's all we got.
Right.
I'm not making a comment about my height, but you might struggle to get through the door, but I'd be fine. Right, go to Disney film. You've seen the photo of me next to Tom Lindsay. I'm not exactly tall. Yeah. Look like his son on Dairly.
No comment.
Right, what's your go-to Disney film?
Oh, I'm confused. It's Lion King Disney.
Yeah.
The Lion King.
It's fair. It's a great shout.
Yeah.
Right. Do you have a favourite quote that you like to remind yourself of frequently?
Yeah. It's remember your why.
I like that. That's nice and simple one. I like that.
Yeah. Recent favourite quote, but like it's just
it's stuck.
Yeah. Sometimes get a little bit tough or whatever. You just like, why am I doing this? And that's a nice way, a simple quote to just kind of keep your head in the game.
I love that. And last one, what's your go-to fast food place? So, like, if you could have like one, like your traditional drive-throughs, what's your go-to on your cheat day?
I like Five Guys, but I think it's 5 times as expensive.
I know it's not traditional fast food, is it? When it's like 30 quid and you're like, oh.
No, it's not. Probably McDonald's.
Tried and true.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ye old faithful. And there we go. That's easy. Quick fires done and dusted. Now we just do our nice two that I give you a little bit more time to think about. So your favorite piece of memorabilia you currently own or have, and this doesn't have to be like kit, medals. This can be any sort of souvenir you've taken over your journeys that you just like to keep.
My favorite, it's like, I think it's in a box, somewhere, but it's a winner's medal from Middlesex Sevens.
Nice. What's the story behind that?
Was in lower 6, so 17. The London Irish asked me and one of my mates, Sam Edgley, at the time, that we'd be playing in the Middlesex Sevens with all the pros, and they put in an all-out team to go win it. And we were like, "What are we doing it?" But we just got minutes here and there. Like, got to play. Ended up playing in the final against like an all-star team that was put together. But my brothers Stefan and Dylan were playing, and I thought, this is awesome. The point in the game in the final where we were all on the pitch at the same time, and I was actually like, yes, cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Have you got like a photo of the day? Because like me and my brothers are in the same. We've only played one game together, and it was like a charity game for the local rugby club. But there's one photo of all of us three that have ever been on the pitch together. Do you guys have one of those?
Yeah. There's a picture of us like holding the trophy at the end.
Oh man, you got to send that to me. I'll have to share that with obviously the audience when we go share it to me when this is going out. Right now, I was hoping that was going to be your question for favorite piece you wanted to add, but if you've already got it, I'm now even more interested. What is one piece of memorabilia you're looking to add to your collection of your sporting journey?
I want to add to it.
I love that you're looking as if you've just got like a whole wall of it there and it's just out of shot.
It's a window. A window leading out to the sky. Endless possibilities. Yeah. I mean, at the moment, it's to get promoted back into the Super League. It's
Nice, that promotion medal.
yeah, it's kind
That's
of long term, short term, but that's the goal in sight at the moment.
I love that because that's like short term with long term implications as well. It's like this is part of a bigger thing. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that,
from
well,
there, you kind of, well, you keep going, don't you? It's just kind of,
I know.
because
the,
right
this
now,
the first small victory of a much harder journey to follow on from that.
yeah, because right now I'm where I wanted to be a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
like during COVID, when I was like, I wasn't with the club, and I was like, this is where I'd like to be. But now I'm here, so I'm like, now I want to be there. So you kind of,
I
if
love
you
it.
don't keep kind of looking ahead and setting the bar up a little bit higher, then you get a bit stuck.
Mhm. Wow. I love that mentality because that's what I find so is that everybody's so people like it's definitely as yourself because like for example I was talking to a guy this morning who's a lot younger than me and you. He's only like early 20s like and he's just gone off his first Commonwealth Games.
Yeah,
And so he was talking about how he's like, oh, I'm starting to really try and appreciate what I'm doing as I'm doing it because he's like, I didn't really take into the Commonwealth Games as much as I should because he's so, like you said, he's still focused on that. This next step is still just a step to get to the next one and then following. But it's I love to hear when because I think especially when you guys get a chance to talk to people like me that would kill to have like 2 days of your lifestyle of, or like a fraction of the achievements you guys have. Like, you see, if I won the Middlesex Sevens medal that you had, I'd probably still be wearing it to this day. Like, I'd wear it on the bus to work or something. Like, yeah, no, I need the spare seat because, you know, big deal here. That's what I've got to do. So it's so cool when I hear guys like that. And it's like, I think it really takes in the mentality of like my first question of how's preseason shaping up? And I know everybody talks about preseason is just like fitness, drilled, conditioning, stuff like that. It's like, but do you guys have like a mental aspect of preseason as well? It's like you're doing like team meetings, more of like, this is the goal for the year. This is how we want to get out of this year.
yeah, 100%. Like the moment you got the full squad in, you you need a common goal. Like there's a
Mm-hmm.
reason. It's the reason we're all in this room together, and it's why we're doing the hard work. Because without that goal, the idea of doing all that hard work for nothing is kind of horrible, to be honest.
Yeah.
So like when you're knackered and you're looking at each other, you all know that you're doing it for a reason, and you're working for each other to achieve that goal.
Amazing. So how was that first session of preseason? Is that started yet, or is that 1st of Feb start, or are you back in now?
Our first game's next week, 4th of Feb.
Oh Christ, that's that.
Arrow away.
So you've literally had like just 4 weeks. You've flown back 1st of January and just gone. We're gonna hit the ground running.
Yeah, we're in from November up.
Oh,
Yeah, so we went up until Christmas, and then had a week off, and then back in. So we're coming to the end of it now.
So are you at that stage now where you're kind of like I'm feeling in good nick, but I'm waiting for the day where the coach doesn't turn and go. So we're doing the usual morning bronco to start off the day.
Yeah, pretty much. Just fitness, left, right, and center kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're kind of ready to play now, and we all know we're going to be knackered.
Yeah.
So, you just run around, and then you get put in a game. You're like, oh.
And it's that first hit when you've not got bags and nobody's got like tackle suits on. You're like, shoulders are a bit more pointier, and you're like, ow.
Yeah, pointy shoulders, don't know the opposition. Then you're like, oh yeah, we're back.
Especially when you get that. I suppose because when you're training and like nobody goes 110 in training because you're just like, I'm not going to kill my teammates. But then, like you say, that first hit in competitive play,
Yeah.
like
Like,
how long does that sit with you in that first game when you get that? Because especially in league where there's not that many scrag tackles, there's not that many gentler collisions. It is an organized 80 minutes of small car crashes and then 30 blokes shake hands and walk off the pitch.
yeah, pretty much. Well, I'm not one of the forwards, but you know off the kickoff what the game's going to be like. That first hit sets the tone, and then you're like, we're in now. Like, it's happening. It's happening. You just kind
when
of
you
like brace yourselves.
when you get that kickoff, are you like praying this? Like, I really hope we're kicking, so I don't have to be the one under the ball on the very first play of the game.
I mean, if we're receiving a kickoff, it basically means someone else was going to carry. But if we're kicking off, there's every chance you're chasing in the line. You're like,
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to come my way. You're like, Because if he is, then okay,
Yeah.
we're in earlier than we thought.
I've got a whole plan of the mindset of here, because you have to be so committed, but we're going to come back to that. And it's like, so we spoke there about the team goal quite nicely and how preseason sort of leads to that. And there's mental aspect. Do the team almost encourage you to think personally along those lines, these goals? I know you said your big memorabilia pieces, you want that medal and you want that promotion back up into Super League.
Yeah.
But do you have like do you like journal or like goal plan as you do? I mean, inside, like I've got a whiteboard here I have for like the whole of the podcast and stuff like that, and I plan. But do you do something similar to that in the preseason time?
Yeah, it kind of helps. Like I didn't do it straight away this year, and then I couldn't figure it out, but I just felt a bit lost.
Okay.
But then when I wrote down the goals, I was like, what do I want from this year? Then it just makes everything a bit clearer, even if it's super simple. But just seeing it on paper, you're like, right, this actually isn't as complicated as I'm making it in my head. Just need to be fit, know the plays, work hard for the team. Like I want to start, I want to play, and we want to win. Like it's a lot easier when you see it on paper.
Oh, amazing! It's like you said, yeah. I love that you said it's like it's so. Oh, this is a really difficult thing when you like you said you've got so many thoughts running around your brain that it's like, oh, I want to win. To do that, I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. And then it's like you said, but then I've just got to put it down to I just want to play, and it's like, I've got to get fit, and you're like, oh, this literally all starts with me just putting in the work and then making sure I keep working myself to get to that point. And like you said, it's like it all sort of falls into a line.
Yeah. Like, even now, my homework, I think, well, get a good night's sleep, and then instead of stressing about training tomorrow, I'll be like, right, turn up, just say hello to all the boys, get ready, do your stretches, and then like it's simple. What you need to do inside of training? I'm like, right, you need to do this, this, and this. If you just break it down into small points instead of looking at it and go, I've got a big day tomorrow, it's really overwhelming. I'll have a meeting. I've got weights. I know how to do weights. Done it before.
Yeah.
Going on the pitch, had hundreds of sessions. Like it's if you break it down, you've done all those things so many times. But when you look at it at once, you're like, well, how am I going to get through this? And you're like, well, I've done it so many times. It's just because I'm looking at it as a schedule. It doesn't make it harder.
It's amazing, and it's lovely to hear people like yourself who are in such of these what the outside world brand is like high pressure environments, sort of like the attention to detail is so finite, but we all just walk in and we go, well, we know we've done that before, so that's that. And if we just think this day is just a combination of tons of things I've done before, then that's probably why you guys all walk around looking so calm and so suave. And then I imagine with lifestyles, I guess, because you guys always just like you're having the greatest time. I'm going to come on to the French lifestyle later, because you guys look just like you're living the best life, and I keep debating whether I just need to get a massive Duolingo month dedication and just learn French so I can adopt that lifestyle. But
you do.
Sold. Do you know what? I've got a second screen. I'll just have it up here. So what I'd love to start is where we go back down into the very first beginnings of the Guy Armitage story. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was that London Irish contract, the very first one, when you start becoming a pro or development academy player.
Yeah.
What was the time like before that, when you're just playing at school for fun? Obviously your brothers are off doing their thing, but you're kind of watching that. What's it like at school? And then I suppose to that as well, playing rugby at school with that heritage from your brothers, does that like trickle down effect, and how does that influence the way you play rugby as a fun hobby at that time?
I mean, there was a lot more pressure involved. I was in Brixham with my parents until I was 13.
Right.
Played for Devon under 15s at the time against Cornwall, and from there, someone from London Irish watched and said, "Oh, we want you to come do the goal group stuff." But I was living 4 hours away. One of the coaches that was doing some training at London Irish was also a teacher at Wellington College.
All right.
He was like, "You should try and get a scholarship here, a rugby scholarship. Then you could go to boarding school here, and then you can train up Irish in the week." So there's all this like these small parts like coming together for me to go up. And my dad at the time was like, well, obviously not forcing you to play rugby, but if this is what you do want to do, then this is probably the way to go. So yeah, it was at 13 when I basically made the conscious decision to pursue rugby as like, something I really wanted to do because I had to move away from home. But right from there, I came in with 2 other boys like in my school year,
right?
Like, just as rugby scholars. And from that point, it was we were in to make the rugby team better. It was you're here to play rugby, so be good. it was like so they brought you in to make the team better. Go on then.
Oh, was there like pressure from the rest of the team as well? Sort of like, let's see what these guys are about then, if they're.
Yeah, so there was obviously the small trials and like that I had to do with like the captain and a couple of the other players, like one-on-one drills and passing and speed and everything else. Oh. Just like the measuring up to see like if I'd be any good or anything, and I'm like we're in then. But yeah.
How's that decision at 13 when somebody comes, you're gonna move 4 hours away and you're gonna do this, you're gonna come to, because I don't know what your school was like before you ended up at Wellington College, but I imagine like if you take even so the only contrast I have here is we're just outside of Edinburgh.
Yeah.
The schools in Edinburgh are lifetimes away from the schools we have here in rural Scotland. So I imagine it's quite a change, and you're just like the way people walk's different. That's what I find when I'm walking around these places.
So it's like Hogwarts. that was the comparison. And I remember my mates when they saw where I was going started calling me Winston. Like it was
really?
Yeah. They're like, oh, he's off to posh school. And I was like, fair enough.
Yeah, I've just got to take it. There's no defense for this one.
Yeah, but no. Every game from the moment I got to that school, like 13, 14, was I'd go to schools and they'd be like, oh, there's an Armitage playing. There's this, there's that. I've heard this, there's that. There's no like it was every school we went to, all the parents or whatever would mention, and I'd be like, what 13-year-old knows another 13-year-old from like another school? It's like a bizarre kind of.
That is.
Yeah. When you're professional, you like name drop people, and you're like, I've got so and so, I've got so and so. But at 13, you're like, this is odd.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to play FIFA, guys. Come on, like, I'm here because I've been told I get to go to a nice school if I come here. I just want to play FIFA. It's I don't want to keep talking about your brothers because you're your own person in your own right. And if I wanted to talk to your brothers, I'd invite your brothers on. But I always find it really interesting when these external factors that only ever few people get to experience of having, like obviously Dylan and you've got Stefan. How does that affect the 14-year-olds when you're like, why are you talking about my brother? Like to me, he's just like they're just big bros. Like they're not Stefan Armitage and Dylan Armitage. As if I was to walk past them in the street, I'd be like, fuck me, that's Stefan Armitage. Yeah. And said that I was so steaming on New Year's Eve, I didn't notice Hamish Watson walk past me, but that was a different story for a different day.
I mean, just a normal sized bloke.
Well, no, he wasn't a normal sized bloke, but
not at all.
I was just steaming. I thought he's fucking massive.
Yeah. Must work in IT somewhere.
Yeah.
That's good. No, it's it's a bit of a weird one at that age, but like to me, like watching London Irish from like 10, 11, going to see them play, because you meet all the other players and then you realize they're normal people too.
Yeah.
So you just kind of around them, and then they treat you like their younger brother in a way, because like I'm just at my family's house and they're at the family's house, and it's just it brings you into the world, and then everyone's like, oh, you met so and so. I'm like, yeah, he's a really normal bloke. it's like your how I know my brothers, like they're mates, how you'd be mates with someone else. It's a weird insight that like they're not like superheroes or superhuman people. They're just normal people. So when like they get criticism or anything else, then you're just kind of abusing a normal person. It's it's a weird concept, but they're kind of like, nah, because he's in the shirt, so it's fine.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm guilty for it as much. If a player I support doesn't do as well, I'm probably. But it's another thing I find really weird about sport. Of we're never that quick to when somebody has a good game. It's almost like, when somebody has that 10 out of 10, you're like, oh, that was nice. Forget about it. If somebody has that 3 out of 10 or that 4 out of 10, the whole week until the next game is that person with the 3 out of 10.
Yeah, like we expected 10.
Yeah, like we expect absolute perfection, and anything worse is not good enough.
We expected 10. You trained for a 10. How dare you give us a 3? And they're like, I kind of tried my best. Like, obviously, like no one tries to drop a ball or like pick it straight out of touch or anything. They're like, sorry guys. Yeah.
I would love it if you came off, if you God forbid, touch wood, if you did have a bad game and the media were giving you grief and you just like quote tweeted it and you're just like, job done, like hand clap emoji, just you're like, that's exactly what we aim to do, guys. The plan went perfectly. We'll make sure we do it next week and get that 10 that you mean. Like,
yeah, it's bizarre because like these days everything's monitored. We're wearing GPSs, everything's filmed. Like they know how far we've ran. They probably they know our heart rate. They've got everything up there.
Yeah,
we'll review it in the week. Like, don't worry. we know in the review that we're going to get it. It's fine. Like, it's not going to go unnoticed. Don't think because you don't mention it, we're going to just, brush it under the carpet.
No, you've got Big Derek in the stands that's not played rugby for about 30 years saying that guy's playing poorly, and we're like, we know, we'll see it.
I'm aware. I'm aware. It's my job.
I love that mentality of you of just you're not shirking the responsibility. It's just like in the place we're supposed to be. Like, I know where I need to hear the important information from. So this is not to say it's not important, but it's not gonna linger with me.
Yeah, like you and me both know. We know I wasn't supposed to drop that. I'm sorry because I don't want to do it. But I'll be better next time because that's the plan.
That's the plan. Don't worry. If we run this move again and the exact same outcome happens, I will plan to catch it. Be rest assured. Then you get that Irish contract. Was that a development contract or was that pro? And then how did your life change after that? Because what happens for a lot of people is you go from school, which is very regimented, and a lot of people go, this is where you need to be on this day, do this thing, do that. And then a lot of people go out into the world of work and they go, oh, excluding the 8 hours I'm meant to be at work, I have a lot of time for myself. How does this then become a pro player contract where you're like, oh, you still need to be here and do this? How does that change?
There's still like a full school schedule, like place you got to be, weigh-ins, and then different meetings. You got your weights, you got your training, but like you kind of finish school and everyone's off on holiday, but then you start pre-season as soon as you physically can, like after your exams, because they're like, well, what do you need a holiday for?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're right, but I need a holiday.
I don't want to be on the beach. Yeah, you're right. I do want to be at pre-season.
Yeah, you get handed this like kit bag of a year's worth full of kit, and then you're like, this is what I've been working for. So like, yeah, it's basically it was an academy contract.
Yeah.
Living in a house with 3 other boys.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty hectic. It's kind of a case of if a couple of people don't wash their dishes, you know about it. They like Dengue with the bin rubbish.
You get this chore schedule ironed out pretty quickly. You're like, no, nobody's coasting.
Yeah, you've lucked out if you get one clean freak, basically.
That's what you need to be. We had that problem in the flat. You just need to put a marker down. Like, no, this is the bare minimum we're expecting for living standards.
Yeah, like this.
So how is that lifestyle when you're on that academy, because you're on that academy contract, and obviously it's like you're in with 3 other boys that you're good mates because you train and see them most of the day.
Yeah.
How's that lifestyle when you're just like, we're living like we're close to living the proper dream of the pro contract, the full contract, but you are also living the dream of you're training with the team, you're doing all this stuff, you're living with your mates. How's that lifestyle like when you're at that 18-year-old?
It's cool. It's different because everyone, like all your mates are off to uni. So you train over the summer and everything else. Then it gets to September and your season's starting. and all your mates are going to freshers, and you're like, I can't do that.
No.
You like,
Did you not try it? You're just like, I'm just going to take the Wednesday off for the sports night.
yeah, every now and then, because some of them are like a week long, 2 weeks long, and then you're like, you can just drop into one, say hi.
Just show face.
Yeah.
Promise I won't wear any kit, so like the badge won't be visible.
But otherwise, you're just you're into it. You're into it full time already, because you're there must have been like 7 of us in the academy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just training with the first team. So you're in this world straight away. You need to get up to speed. They're trying to make you bigger because you're basically still a boy.
Yeah.
You just got to get up to speed, and you're just settling into a new way of playing. Like as a back, you just got told like you need to tell them where they need to go. I'm like, that's a 34-year-old man with 3 children. I'm like, I'm 18, just left school, and you want me to just shout at him because he's in the wrong position? They're like, yeah. I'm like, right, okay then,
Cool.
Weird world we're living in here.
Oh, I don't think as a forward I could sympathise exactly with the forwards of why they wouldn't be keen for that, but at the same time I understand completely why a back would be get out of the way, unless you know how to run the infamous dummy scissors pop and then throw a miss 3 or get out of the way. Yeah,
that's a rare breed you're talking about, I think.
the tag furlongs of the world.
Yep.
Just slotted at 10. That's the dream for this year's Six Nations, but that's by the by. You can tell my fantasy team's going to go well if I slide him at 10.
Yes.
So I want to talk, because I find this so interesting just from a nerdy individual point of view, the transition year. Like you said, they're so focused on making you bigger, stronger, faster. How does, like, can you briefly sort of sum up that year of just how it sort of looks for you? Like, is it, because it probably doesn't follow a normal year of the fitness of pre-season, get you into the playing shape. There's probably like a much longer development process for that.
Yeah. Everyone comes in like all sorts of shapes. Shapes and sizes coming out of school. The odd couple are already man size, and they're like,
yeah,
right, just focus on skills for you. Like, I wasn't skinny, but they were like, we can make you bigger.
Yeah.
Right. So you just like doing weights twice a day.
Right.
You're doing 8 weight sessions a week, which is like you're basically knackered all the time. So like eat more, sleep more, do more weights, and then you're just getting bigger. Everyone's finding it funny because we're all in the same position. We're like, I've put on a stone. Like, what's happening?
I've put on a stone in lean mass. Like, how does this happen?
I was like, I'm so tired. I'm like carrying this new weight, and then they need to get you used to that weight. So you're doing fitness at the same time. You're like, you made me heavier. This running's so much harder now.
I was gonna say, like, because like even your ankles and your knees, like carrying that extra stone, and then that, like, especially for yourself as a back, the turn of pace is so important, because it's not just for listeners who don't watch that much rugby on this podcast. There's so little of just straight running. There's so much zigzag, back and forth, up, down. So how do you train like the knees for that? So is your training mostly like bodybuilder, almost like to get the weight on, or is there still a lot of plyometrics and stuff to keep you like springy?
There's a bit of everything. Yeah. So you'd have like upper body session in the week, lower body session, like a power session. So there's more like box jumps and everything else. And then depending on your coach, like your strength and conditioner, it's a lot of balance work and strengthening of the joints. It just depends what stage of your career you're in. So like if you're a bit older, you would do more stretching. That was some advice someone gave me when I was 18, 19. If I give you one bit of advice, is to stretch every day. And I laughed. I was like, I think it's just because you're old. But like now I'm like, should have listened to it.
Should have stretched.
Now I stretch every day.
I find it's when when you start doing the golfer pickup of something, when the one leg comes up at the back and you feel yourself sort of wheeze a bit. That's just stretch.
Yeah, because boys would just strap their ankles and just strap whatever wasn't strong enough, and he's like, that's not good long term. I'm like, okay.
Magic tape solves all.
Yeah.
That's probably, if you had to do a rugby quote that you could find in every club, you'd be like, magic tape solves all.
Like, I don't need to strengthen this. I'll just tape it. I'll tape it in position.
right knee's not as strong as used to be. Just tape it.
Just tape
Oh,
it.
God, tape it.
Yeah. But
So,
no, that's stretching.
yeah. I might just name that the title of the podcast. Guy Armitage tells you to stretch.
Yeah.
Refuse to fail, season 1. Hey, so sorry to interrupt the podcast. This is something I wanted to tell you about, and it's something I wanted to explain before I just go around throwing it everywhere, because this is something that was quite difficult for me to decide to do. It took a lot of deliberation and a lot of discussion with friends and family. I have now created an option where you can tip the podcast or you can reward the podcast if you feel the podcast deserves it. There is an option down below where I went on the internet, I found this website that wants to reward content. So I'm now going to talk about the part of your career when I look at it and I sort of dive into it to find the most interesting. As we discussed off camera before we pressed the record button, you showed a lot of commitment in the fact of there was a lot of times people gave you the option to just go, maybe this has run its course, maybe I'll look for something else, but you never gave up on the dream that you'd planned for, and as it showed, you committed to it at 13, 14 years old. So even on those first 2 seasons when you're at Irish, you're on loan to all the other exile clubs. How's this going about, and how does that build you as a young rugby player and a young person? Because you're getting thrown into different environments, and you can be literally just picked up, pulled back to Irish, dropped in at Scottish. Somebody can phone you next week and go, actually, we're going to send you to London Welsh because we think you're a better fit there. How did those first 2 years at Irish, when you're doing all those things, affect you as a person and as a player?
It's really tough because your goal is to like sign for London Irish, play for London Irish, and you've just come from like school age group club level where you're used to starting every week.
Yeah,
all players get the ball like it's a simpler life. Like you're higher up on the food chain, if that makes sense.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah, I get what you mean.
And then you get into the academy, and then you're in this whole different world where people have been in there for years. There's a way of doing things, and they're like, well, we need to get you up to speed with playing against men, and it doesn't really matter how. So you're playing A-League, but there weren't that many games, so they'll put you on loan to one on loan to Scottish for a game or two. Got into rhythm. I think played up 1 game for Scottish. It was me and Elliot Daly in the centres, played against Nottingham. Week after, called back to the club.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, play for London Welsh. And then you just, because every week it's the same moves but different calls. So it's got calls for like 3 different clubs in my head, and I'm like, where am I? And then
is there ever a case when the call's into lap and like somebody shouts something and you just instinctively run one way and the rest of the team's looking at you like, where the hell is he going?
Yeah, no, it's easily done actually. But then I'll get called back for a bit and then play for another one. And then I came back for London Welsh against Scottish, and I was on the wing, and they were like, wait, what are you doing over there? I was like, right, is that you? Because I think I'd like grown my hair out in that time. They're like, just put on a disguise and come back.
You're just terrified of the home fans. You're like, I'm just gonna play this safe with the hair.
Yeah, but no, it's bizarre because you're also kind of disrupting clubs by being called in, because there's always someone there that could probably play in the position that you're taking.
Yeah.
So it's another case of, young guy probably thinks he's a hot shot. Like you're starting this week, and then you're kind of like, I didn't put me here. It's kind of like I would like to win with you guys. It's you get put in a weird situation where you're like, I want to help, and kind of no offense, but then it's the world of sport where if you don't take that opportunity, someone else will. So it's a weird competitive world where you're mates, but then like your mate could take your job. So it's don't enjoy it, but don't get too comfortable. Understand that this isn't a given, that you're doing this as a job, because at any given moment, it could go, like a new player could come in, new coach, like all sorts of things could happen, and then just like that, like you just you could be without a club. So
Yeah, that's. I suppose that is terrifying when you think, because it's like you say, that if you've got, especially if you have friends, because traditionally you're closer to the people that are nearer you on the pitch, just the way that's happened for me. So, like you said, your friend, especially in the centre, you could have two of you playing in the centre, and it could come to a point where your mate, if you're playing 13 and your mate's been playing 12, they could bring in a new star 12, like you say, and your mate's only choice if he wants to stay in the team is to take your position, and vice versa. The only way you stay in the team is if your mate, you now have to convince everybody around you that you're better than your mate that you've been like in tandem with for, could be anywhere up to 3 seasons, I suppose. So
yeah,
how do you keep that mentality? I think we'll go into it now. This is a good chance to bring it in. So we talk about the mentality in sport, and not only, like we spoke about at the very start, you have to be angry enough to be prepared for the sport you're about to play. You have to maintain that control and live on that narrow edge, on the edge of controlled discipline and just brute anger without being a psychopath.
yeah.
um, so how does that mentality of this is elite sport now come in, especially at this young age? So that was a very long-winded question, but I suppose, how's the mentality of being a young sports person at this time? How this time was for you?
Um, it was bizarre because like you believe in yourself, which is why you're there. So in your
Mm-hmm.
head, you're like, well, I should probably be starting. Like
Yeah.
you're frustrated because you want to play,
Mm-hmm.
which is good, but it's just how you channel that. So it's just about like basically putting in the hours and like not sulking if you're not playing. Like actually, how can I get better? Who can I speak to put myself in a position where I can learn and maybe get that opportunity? And then it's about actually being ready for that opportunity. Because
Yeah.
if you're sulking and complaining about not playing and you get your shot that
Mm-hmm.
you've not prepared, then that's kind of on you. So it's weird because it's a sport that you played because you loved it, but in
Mm-hmm.
elite sport it becomes a business and it's about winning. And at that point,
Yeah.
keep in mind that you're lucky to play it, but also
It's
it's a
difficult.
very harsh
Yeah.
role to be involved in.
And then so I think that was the next one I'm going to spend on that long-winded question before, was then how do you then start looking at rugby, like you said, this has always been my respite from the rest of the world. When school was your job, rugby was my respite. Rugby was my get all my anger out, do this, which it can still be. But then how do you then look at it and go, this is now where my source of income comes. This is now where I make my livelihood. For me, in order to do the things I want to do, like you said, we need to win, we need to play well, and I need to perform to the best of my capability. When does that mind? Because I feel that's probably not a thing that somebody can tell you externally. That must have to be a real internal process to realize. Did that come into you around that time, or is this something you learned later on? Or
Later on, it's it's weird because it's hard to figure out when you're in, call it a rugby bubble. You're
yeah,
surrounded by players and everything is a certain level.
mm-hmm.
Like you start to see yourself in a certain way, and if you're not playing, you're like, well, I'm not really doing well as a human being here, just
Yeah,
because you're not playing. But then you meet up with mates from school, and they're in their office jobs, they're doing whatever else, and then you get perspective, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm actually like I am a rugby player, and I am part of this small bunch of people, this small group that get to do this. So it kind of you zoom out a bit, and you see
yeah,
that you're actually still in the position you wanted to be and that you've worked for. It's just that things might not be going well at that moment. And as school did to rugby when you were at school, it gave you balance because it kind of let you breathe. When rugby's not gone well for me or I've been stressed, I've realised that I've put everything into rugby, which
mm-hmm.
sounds like a good thing, but it's not, because if you try too hard and give everything in that one area, it can put everything off balance, and you start to get stressed, and you start to get you start to get real down about yourself. So I think it's really important to kind of keep an eye on who you are. Like I'm not like Guy the rugby player. I'm Guy the human being,
Mm-hmm.
and like got a family. I've got friends. Like I love doing other things other than rugby. Like I love drawing and like writing children's books and like odd
Yeah.
things. Like so even at the moment, let's say I've like neglected some stuff that I love to do outside of rugby,
Mm-hmm.
and it can really put you off balance. So I think it's a case of remembering who you are and what you love to do, and not to let those things go. So like all like the weird, like quirky things or whatever else that you like to do that you're like, oh, bit weird. Never, don't let those things go. Like always think ahead, do the interesting things and keep learning, and then it will allow you to enjoy rugby. As school drags you away from rugby, it would allow you to like come into it instead of stressing about it at home the whole time and then getting caught in a cycle.
Well, I love everything answers to that, and you're preaching to the choir there. I know you and I have had the pleasure of knowing each other for a while now. We speak about it a few times about the weird, quirky things we still do. I know we both messaged each other a few times about how I think there was once we were both sat talking in the group chat, and we were all just asking people what we were doing, and you're like, "Oh, I'm just doodling," and I sent the photo in of like, "Oh, I'm actually doing the same thing." So we both actually had adult coloring books because we just found them as such a good relief of just it's the most silly, impractical thing to do for an hour, but it's such a good reset of the mind to just have this completely tangent thing to what everybody does in their day-to-day life of just this is something I've held on to and I keep doing it.
Yeah. Just remember like folders back of books. I'll just doodle. Like
Yeah.
But because you're not carrying a book around, you're like, oh, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm sat at my desk, like
Right. I think I've tidied mine away for the podcast to make it look nicer, but I've got a stack of drawers under that part of the desk, and there's at least 2 colouring books in there.
That's what I mean. Like there's there's just like stuff that I've just doodled and drawn just around within reach just in case.
Quite right. I love that. And then so asking us that you're now at that stage. We're kind of going how this thing's going to work now. We've kind of done the mental journey, and we'll go back to the actual physical of where you were journey throughout. But now, as you get more aware and in tune with like your mental health, it sounds like you've always had quite an understanding for it, and you've always been. I know the situation and the mindset I need to have for each part of the journey I'm doing, but we talk more about mental health, and then you're a huge ambassador for blokes. You're a huge ambassador for Give a Ruck, who I recently spoke to. I think they're incredible. I think everybody should go follow them. It sounds rugby based, but it's not rugby based. It's all about mental health. It's a tagline for us to care. So if you can go and follow Give a Ruck, go and follow blokes. The stuff they're doing is incredible, and you've got you've got incredible people like Guy on, previous guest Callum Circa, Tom Lindsay. Everybody's been involved. They're all incredible people. Matt Jess, can't leave out Jess, the most positive man I've ever met in my life. He's frighteningly positive. Mental health, you talk about there about how rugby became, I'm just putting placeholders in, but rugby became the school, as in that's the thing I now have to do instead of the thing I look forward to. We still look forward to playing rugby, but now you have to be the rugby. The rugby's the income. I have to be at training.
Yeah.
So, when did you like sort of decide to bring in these external things that I know common practice? A lot of rugby players play golf is the common conception because it's a peaceful thing. What would you advocate to young academy contract players, young aspiring school players at Wellington College, if you could go and speak to them now in terms of mental health and sort of preparation to help them on the next stage?
Everyone's different. That's one thing I've learned joining rugby teams is you have a variety of people. I think it would just be to keep like there's not everyone in the team were in the same friendship groups. Like everyone had different interests. Just keep doing whatever that was. It might be golf. It could be other sports. Like that's easy enough. Just keep doing that. Stay in contact with people you hung out with anyway. Like start groups. Like if you love to draw, try and keep drawing. Like don't stop just because you're not at school anymore or there's no reason to, because you're sat at your desk not wanting to do your homework. It's like you actually have to start making time for that.
Yeah.
I think it's just making time for it, because it's really easy to just sit in front of the TV, basically. But that doesn't really help your mind. It's good to have an escape every now and then, but there's stuff in your head that just, just needs to get out sometime, whether that's drawing, writing. People have to do music, reading, like just they're really simple things that we've done every day, but we kind of forget to do them. And after a while, when you've not done them, you don't even know what's wrong. you don't even know why you feel like you do. And then someone's like, "Oh, have you done this lately?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I haven't. Not in a few months, actually." Come to think of it, like a lot of time goes by, and you just can't figure out why you're off. Like two of my best mates from school came over, last weekend, and like when I was in the academy, I used to see them once a week. We used to go bowling, like go bowling, go grab some food, like watch a film, like, and it would be me dipping out of the rugby world and coming back in. Like that would be my.
I love it, like a reset neutral reset button type thing.
Yeah, but it was normal, but I didn't realize how healthy it was in my life at the time. But it's when I say moved to Coventry, because I was in London, and up until that point, that I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I was like, I was living alone. I wasn't seeing them every week, and I was just getting more and more stressed. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And then I realized that small things that were in place when I was near family and friends were no longer there. And I didn't realize I needed to kind of make a conscious effort to call and plan, because it gets harder when you're not near someone, kind of that way of out of sight, out of mind. You're like, I actually need to plan to get them to come up, because I'm a couple of hours away now. But the moment I did, like they came up, they came up in the week. They're like, "Oh, sweet, yeah, we'll come up." I'm like, "Oh, well, this could have been a lot quicker if I just said something." Like it's they're like, "Oh, we didn't know." I'm like, "And now you do. Now you come and see me." I'm like, "Well, that was easily solved." And I was just in my head, I was like, "I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." And then you see your mates. I'm like, "It's all right. Like it's not that bad," because they can. I can find it's a lot easier to solve someone else's problems than your own, because your emotions aren't clouding your judgment.
Yeah, I think that sentence speaks volumes there. Just like that resonates with me. There, it's so much easier to help other people than help yourself almost. But then, like you say, the actual act of helping yourself isn't that difficult. It sometimes just takes writing it out, calling your mate, and just saying, "Do you want to go and do some silly activity like bowling, or just grabbing something to eat?" Just to have that interaction.
Yeah, like that's in your head, the emotions in it. I'm like, oh, I don't know. There's a bit of fear, there's a bit of embarrassment, there's like a bit of everything mixed in. And then you speak to someone and they just see it for what it is. And they're like, "Do you want to see them? Why don't you call them?" And I'm like, yeah.
Could do that,
yeah. Pretty good option, to be fair.
What's amazing is, it's like some people say that and you'll think, it's like, I never thought of actually just phoning them. Like it's amazing, like you say, how that gets clouded.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but communication, key on the rugby pitch, key everywhere else for relationships. Like when things are clear, then it just seems to work so much easier.
That is the truth. Not a true word has been spoken. Wow. So I don't know. This feels like it's not going to go, but that was beautiful. I've got a sore throat at the moment, so it sounds like I'm about to burst into tears. But I could be about to burst into tears because that was beautiful. God, Guy, you've made me cry like 2 or 3 times when you talk about mental health, because you speak so beautifully on it. Because I don't want to say you get it, because there's so much nuance to it, and everybody, it's a constant thing. There's never a case of like job done, solved, see you later, how you doing. But talk about the evolution of mental health and that. I think I would just point as you moved to the Wasps at one point and you had that distance. How was the time at Toulon? Because from as a purely external rugby player fan, you went in 2012. There was that super team there. Everybody remembers the iconic red kit with the big Volkswagen badge in the middle. And then obviously you're in Toulon, south of France. Everybody's there. Sun's shining. Champagne rugby's getting played every week. You're in that superstar lineup. Yeah. How was that when you got that call to go across there? Like, how did that get set up? Was it did they come to you? Was it an agent thing? Tell us how that unfolded.
An agent thing. It was Stefan had gone there the year before.
Mm-hmm.
My agent went because I'm in my second year of academy, and I'm like, now what? Like, hopefully London Irish offer me something to stay.
Yeah.
And he went, Toulon want to sign you 3 years. Here's the deal. What? Yeah, I was like, and I was living with Darren Allinson and Matt Garvey.
Okay.
And Darren Allinson was like, yeah, you need to go. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go. It was like a weird, unexpected moment where I was like, this is massive. I'm like,
yeah.
Where else would you want to go? Like, if you could pick a club to go to, I'm like, yeah, I want to go there. Yeah.
Because in my, so how me and I think a lot of my listeners look at this to you is, I heard Dan Bigger on an article the other day. He talks about it was kind of to the like of if you were a footballer and a Barcelona or a Real Madrid come calling for you at that time, because they are the biggest club in world rugby. They're the powerhouse, not necessarily just because of the money they were throwing about, but the team they assembled.
Yeah.
And then, so when you were looking at it, and then you got that contract. Like you said, you're still an academy player. Like, you're still a good player in your own right, but you're not necessarily a household name.
No.
How does this feel when you get that call? Like, does it feel not like a wind up, but you're like, oh, this can't be. This just feels different.
Right, it's just odd. Yeah, it was different. Like, it was still an academy contract in France. It goes to under 23s.
Oh, okay.
So it was still academy, but I was like, this is mental. I was like, I think I'm moving to France. It was like a weird, surreal moment. And like Dylan said yes to going as well. So I'm like, right, looks like we're joining up again. It's like a weird.
The band's back together.
Yeah. Well, it took a year out, and here we go. So yeah, ended up moving out to my first contract outside of like the initial academy contract that I got when I was leaving school.
Amazing. And then how was that year in France? How did the transition change? Did you notice any immediates, just the way either the club sort of handles things in terms of, because I know the French, they're not an early morning start culture, but they're like, once it's go time, it's go time. But we're very much, we get there when we get there in the journey type, the impression when I am ever in France.
There's like, the club was like, the day was split into two. It was too hot in the day in pre-season to train. So we actually got in fairly early, around 7-ish, to do any weights, skills, and then forwards and back split. This was like the morning session, but it was a full-on morning, and then you'd have the afternoon off and come back in the evening for the rugby team session.
Oh.
So it was more of like a full day with a break in the middle where you just trying to survive a bit. Yeah, it was. It was bizarre.
Oh, I love to hear about how these teams work. I love watching these videos that teams put out where it's like, this is a week in how our team runs and things like that. And I can't imagine. So you're playing centre, back three on the wing if you get put like that. You've obviously at this point you've got, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got Nonu and Gitto as the two centres. Or was Gitto just after you got there?
No, it had Wilkinson at 10.
Yeah.
Gitto at 12 and Bastra at 13. And I was like in the bibs with next to Maxime Memos, who was like, an international backup.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is different.
Yeah. How does your brain go to that? Because obviously that's like like you said, you've become so accustomed to the Irish boys through your brothers that you're now like, oh, I'm playing with mates again. I'm playing like you're playing with your big brother out on grass out in the local school. It feels like at this point. So then, like you say, I'm holding bibs with internationals. I've got arguably one of the most famous. You've got one of the most famous rugby players of all time disputing the ball on the opposite side.
Yeah.
You've got the most famous Australian player in the world at that point, and you have one of the most biggest cult players of all time in Bastro at 13.
Yeah.
First thing, are you thinking, "Oh my life!" Every time you see Bastro get the ball, and he's like, "I'm not passing this." And then, secondly, how do you feel when all these names are around you?
Well, at first you're like, this is cool, but then when you're in the session, you're like, well, gotta defend it. Like it's a
game time, yeah.
Yeah, gotta defend it. He's in front of you, hit him. It's like you become like you just get back into the moment. You're like, well, gotta get back to my job. So yeah, you just kind of you snap out of it really quickly. But when you're watching it, you're like, everything was like so crisp, like all the communication, the passes, the skills, the planning of all the moves. It was all just like, it looked effortless, but obviously it's, years and hundreds of hours from all of them put together to do what I've just to do what they've seen in front. And I was like, kind of just at the start of that journey, but that's where I want to get to.
Was there ever any moments in like the training sessions, like if you're doing one of the team sessions at night, where one of them would just do, because the difficulty I always find with training is, especially these are worlds apart, because I was in the forwards just facing mud, shoveling shite, and you were doing nice athletic feats as a back, but the distance, and then obviously you have these structured moves, and I always found when I was trying to do line out training, it just went Pete Tong because the opposition knew what you would call. So you'd call something that's go, all right, up at 2 because they're going to try to throw it to 4, so we'll make the hooker throw over us a bit. Did you have these things where you'd go, I've heard Johnny make the call, Bastro's maybe made an adjustment for what happens when it gets out to us, so I now know where this is going. But then one of them just does this individual bit of brilliance, and you just sit there and go, how does that even, like, how do you have the timing, the sense, and the awareness to think that needs to happen as a ball's getting rifled to you at like 40 miles an hour?
Yeah, but like, you've got your call, and then now there are different things you can do depending on what the defense does. So if someone rushes up, there's going to be a gap in behind. So like 13 rushes up, the 12 might just, take an out ball and then just go in behind. Whereas if they were in a line, I don't know, they would have maybe given it to 12 fixed, and then Bastro would have just hit a hard line, and then they would have like overloaded 12. Like there's different.
Yeah.
But they would have, like everyone does, they review people in front of them, and they're like, he's got a tendency to fly out. We'll go his way, and then you'll just go behind him. It's just really player dependent. I did have one moment. We had it was an open training session at Mile.
Yeah.
It's here on ground, and I've like flown up. Johnny Wilkinson's got the ball and he stepped me, but he's come back. So I'm like off balance, and I've ended up in the right position, and I've like hit him.
Yeah.
I've just lifted him, slammed him down. And one of the boys, he's just like tapped me. He's like, oh, all good. One of the boys ran past and went,
don't do that. Yeah, don't do that.
The crowd's gone, boo. They're like, yeah, don't touch Johnny. I'm like, okay, don't touch QB1. I'm like,
okay. I was gonna say it's like QB1, isn't it?
Yeah. Except there was no bib. It was like an unwritten rule, but I was like, okay, never do that again.
They should put Johnny in a different coloured shirt. But yeah, don't hit him.
Yeah. They will get rid of you.
Fairness, good way to get yourself known in the public workout if you're there and everybody goes, Johnny had a good session today. But there was that guy that did dump him purely on the back of his neck.
Only thing I did all session.
In fairness, if I did that and somebody ran up to me but don't touch him again, I probably wouldn't even touch the ball for the rest of the session.
But yeah, I don't think I will.
I would have been straight for the H2O bib. I'd be like, coach, those bottles are looking a bit empty. I will go and refill these.
Good session, guys.
Yeah, guys, right. See you all tomorrow. Good one.
Yeah.
Just praying you've not got a text when you get home. Just like, come on. I'd love to live. So when you're part, because it was a super team by all accounts. Did you feel yourself getting better, almost like a way as osmosis there? Like, how was that time in Toulon for you? I know you weren't there for the longest time, but
It was 6 months overall, but it was like a full preseason, and you just saw like boys would do fitness and everything else. And after the session was done, everyone would still be out there for another hour. Like boys would be doing extra fitness, extra skills, extra like whatever they needed or didn't need. They just Ghetto is just like gliding, like doing more fitness. Would do hill sprints, and he'd just be floating up the hill. And be like, wow. And then
wow.
Johnny Wilkinson would like help everyone with their skills, whatever, like some kicking, and then do his extra kicking afterwards.
Wow.
Like everyone would help each other, and then there was no real time limit. Eventually they'd be like,
"We need to turn the lights off now." Yeah.
You lock up when you leave.
Yeah. I love that, because it's always been the cliche, hasn't it? It's like the hardest people are the first ones in and the last ones out. But then when you assemble a whole bunch of people that train like that, like you say, it gets to a point where the groundskeeper is like, at some point you do have to leave.
Yeah. No, yeah, it just has to start with one person, and then from there it just grows, and then like it just becomes normal. You're like, right, we're staying out to do skills.
Yeah.
Do you want to stay out? And then eventually it just builds to the whole team. Then you're like, you think back and went, how did this happen? Then you're like, start with that guy.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Wow. Do you try to take that? Because I think that's what really separates. Again, this is so external, and this is why I love doing this, because I get to hear from yourselves, like people who've been in these situations. Do you think it is that mental 10% of just, these are my weaknesses, I'm not going to stop until I don't consider these weaknesses, and if we've not done them in the general training, then this is on me now as to why these aren't good? Like, did you take that and think, this is how I'm going to carry it? Like, do you now still, I'm going to do an active recovery session instead of just having a rest day type thing, or I'm going to spend that extra 30 minutes just working on my left foot step because I feel my left foot step isn't as good as what it could be?
It's still a work on, like, unless you make it a habit over years.
Yeah.
Like there's spells of it, but definitely like doing recovery, doing an ice bath and everything else on an off day doesn't seem like much, but if you do it every off day, then it all adds up. Stretching before training, didn't used to do it as much. When I got here, like some boys were in like an hour earlier, just like stretching, just habit.
Yeah.
And then the group grew, and then before you know it, the whole team stretching before training, like before you have to do anything.
Yeah. Now training's almost an hour earlier because everybody's there, and it's like he's not here rather than, oh, they're here. It's he's not here.
Yeah.
But that's again, that's a sign of like an elite winning mentality. It's, we want to be the best, and we're prepared to sacrifice to be the best.
Yeah, it's just a part of the culture. Like, it just depends on your personnel, which is why it's so important to pick your leaders and have those guys that will bring people with them.
Do you think that's a complete time? Do you think that's important in a leadership group in a team? I know they get spoken about more than captains now of your leadership group. Do you think that transcends more the mental aspect of people more than the skill aspect? It's like we can put all the skillful people in the leadership group, but they might be more naturally talented than some of the essential skills. They think, jobs are good and training's finished, coach is blowing the whistle, head home. Whereas if you get these not mental people, but you get the people with the mental fortitude to be, okay, we've done what is essentially the bare minimum because everybody's training. Now we have to do the extras.
Yeah, like it's just, and always good to have a variety, but you can see the guys that end up in leadership groups. Usually a couple of old guys, but then they're not there just because they're old. There's a reason they're still in this team. Like there's a reason they're still here. Yeah. They're doing something that works. Like you don't go 15 odd seasons through luck. Like it's not a thing. Like they're doing something that's working for them and could help other players, like younger players that are coming up through the squad, whether it's stretching, doing extra skills, recovery, or like watching footage, whatever it is, you've assembled this leadership group, and all those guys will kind of not take an extra role because they do it anyway, but people will follow those people, and they'll just relay messages back to the coach and everything else, and give their ideas of what could be done better, because they're out there with us.
Yeah. Wow. I think it's so inspiring how we see how it works. But so now we're going to talk about, obviously you had your 6 months in Toulon, you had that pre-season mentality to then come back to Irish where you were before, but you've almost got a completely different attitude of how you look because you've now been in that field of people. How did you then approach it? Because then this led to your established time in English rugby union. This was then your sort of like the staple period of your season so far. Like this is when you were getting regular games, you were getting a lot of consistent in your play. How was that then? How was it like being a rugby player? Is that a cemented league or like a cemented union rugby player?
So it was. I mean, I was still in when I was at Toulon, but I was frustrated because I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Also understandable why I wasn't playing, but it didn't take out the frustration. Like it didn't make it any easier. Yeah, Brian Smith called me on a Thursday. He was like, kind of see you're not playing, because they had like 4 guys ahead of me at London Irish. 2 of them left the club, and then 2 got injured.
Yeah.
So they're playing a winger at centre and like a fly off. Like they were just putting people wherever they could.
Next man up mentality at that point.
Yeah. And he was like, what do you reckon about coming back on loan? Just like, yeah, I could do. Was like, if you got any questions, I was like, am I going to play?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I was I was in training on Monday. I left all of my stuff and jumped on a plane. Toulon were like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just came back with a different mindset. I'm like, right, coach wants me to play. I definitely want to play, and I now have the opportunity to play.
Yeah.
And when I got given that chance, I played. Yeah, managed to play pretty much every week, which was amazing actually.
How? Because that I suppose that really must change your mindset as well. Because now you're not playing. Like you're coming on loan to a team you know you're going to play, because that's the reason they brought you on loan. They don't bring people on loan to hold a bag or wear a bib.
Yeah.
But you're now almost playing with like a third party view of it. Of I'm playing so that you guys back in Toulon notice I'm playing, because I believe and I have to have the mindset that I'm good enough to beat the guys that you've got to convince you to give me the starting jersey. So was that kind of in the thought process when you play, or are you just like, I'm just back at Irish, I'm getting a chance to play ball, I'm going to play and just do what I need to do to play?
It was honestly as simple as I want to play rugby. Like I just want to play rugby. Like it was, as I want to play rugby. I think I played a couple of warm ups for the Espoir, like the under 23s, and I was like, I want to play first team. Like I was like, I want to play first team, and when I got that call and I went, I'm like, this is what I want, and this is what I want to do. And like the coach believed in me, had the chance to play, and absolutely loved it.
Wow. I think it shows real detriment to yourself to then go, because you could have just gone, I'm at Toulon now, I'm in the team, I'm in the superstar team, I'm learning from these people, like I'm not going to get that play action, but I am going to get the learning from that. Be like, no, the whole thing I've ever wanted to do is play. I need to be on the pitch. I'm going to go back to where I'm going to go to play. So I think that shows real mental fortitude in yourself. And that, I think it really gives an indication to younger athletes of how you have to do it. You can't go to the glitz and glamour is nice when somebody goes, do you want to come to the super team in Toulon? But if you're not playing rugby, I've not come here to sit and hold a bag Monday to Friday and sit in a stand on a Saturday type thing.
Yeah, there was 3 warm-up games in pre-season first two went by, I wasn't in the squad, and I was like, maybe I'll get run out in the last one, and I didn't get put in, and I was heartbroken. I was like, when when am I going to play if you're playing in a warm up game? But it's honestly, I'd say a week or two after that, I got a phone call, and I was like, I'll see you next week.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, at a 4-0, I was like, I'm ready to go.
I feel good.
Yeah, I feel good. I'm ready to go, and I believe in myself.
Yeah, and then you had your stint at Wasps. You went back to the Exiles at Welsh for a bit, but Irish is always very much. It's always been. You've always associated yourself with Irish. I think whenever you kind of talk about it, you say when somebody says Union to you, I assume you think Irish.
Yeah,
because of just the link you have to it. So then, this is the part I find really interesting: the switch over to league. What inspired that change? Was it I've been doing Union for a while now and I want to try something new, or
it's like after
so
Irish.
That was around 2018, 2019 season or something, was it not? You started dipping your toe into league.
Yeah. Went from Irish to Welsh. Loved it. Had a great season. After Wasps, a couple of seasons, I must have played. I made like 11 appearances, and I was just frustrated. Went to Ealing, played a few games, like played well, and then I was just kind of looking around for a club. Speaking to Doncaster Knights, like spoke to a few clubs at the time, nothing really coming up. Spoke to Doncaster Knights, and they went 2-year deal. I was like, right, okay. And at the same time, I got a text message from a Super League coach.
Right.
It's Lee Radford. Heard you looking for a club? Like, just give me a call. So I was like, what is this? Like, it's a random phone number.
Yeah.
Text message, and I'm like, do people still like?
Do people cold call rugby players? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do people do this?
Yeah.
So I like Googled his name, saw him. I was like, well established, well known. I spoke to my dad. I'm like, he wants me to go to Hull for a 2-week trial.
Yeah.
But I've also got a 2-year deal with Doncaster. But I know like how that would play out.
Yeah.
In my head, like my oldest brother played for them over 100 games, like there for 5+ years. I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to if I'm lucky enough to like re-sign with them and play out my career. I don't know if that's what I want.
Yeah.
But after this 2-week trial, like, I don't know where it could go, but there's something that really interesting about it. I'm like, I think I want to,
Yeah, it piques your interest, that thing.
Yeah, I want to take. I'm going to take the small percentage one because it's what I feel like I should do. So yeah, I did. When I lived in a hotel for a couple of weeks, did one training session, and then they went, "You're going to play for the reserves this week." No one taught me. No one told me like any of the rules. They kind of just assumed I would know things. Like I knew there's a tackle count. Like there's a bit of wrestling. There's like a play of the ball. No one showed me how to do. I was kind of like, I hope this comes naturally. You just like roll the ball between your legs. So I'm like, just look at it. As
you're used to playing like touch when you have to go through the legs touch types.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like, there's like different rules. We do it all the time just to mix it up. Or like play feet touch or like just roll through your legs. I'm like, it's still rugby.
Yeah.
But
the main goal of get the ball over that try line is still there.
Yeah. Don't get tackled. Tackle people. I was like, those are the basics. So,
it's a simple game we play, really, isn't it? Don't get tackled, tackle more people, and score.
That is what I went with. So I met the team like at team run next day, and in league it's kind of way more organised. But you're just in your line. I was like, the left centre won't go like running around and swap with the right centre.
No.
So I looked at my wing. I was like, "Hey mate, what's your name?" He's like, "Ollie." I'm like, "Sweet." I'm like, if I can get to know, there's no way I'm going to learn the whole team in this day. So I got to know the two people around me. I was like, if I could just work with these people, then today should go well. Like that was like, control what I can. I'm like, speak to the guys next to me, and we'll go from there.
I like that.
Yeah, I think we ended up losing, but scored a couple of tries. It actually went well, considering like I was basically not been training for like a month. I was like, it was like a trial by fire. And then they were like, "Oh, we want to see you play again." At this point, I was like, my body was in bits, and I was like, "Yeah, sweet." So after on the wing, whole different set of things because now you got to go back to cover kicks and everything else.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "We'll let you know. We'll let you know by the end of the week." So I'm waiting in a hotel to see if I've got a contract.
Mm-hmm.
I've just gone. I've seen the club have signed someone from the NRL. I've just thought, that's not good news.
Yeah. had to be this club, didn't it? Had to be this one.
This player just suddenly became available, like a cult hero at the club. And another player, and I'm like, he's phoned me on like, realistically, I can't offer you game time, and that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe you do have something. So, like, I know someone at London Broncos, the coach of London Broncos, Danny Ward. Maybe if you speak to him, there could be something there. So I've like spoken to my missus and going, "You'd never believe this. We've moved out of London at this point, but all our stuff, like my parents in Devon. I'm like, I need to go back to training exactly where I was with Ely." She's like, "No way." I'm like, "Yep, that's happening." So I lived at my brother's in his spare room for a couple of months. Went on trial again for 4 weeks. Played another game. Scored a hat trick in that game, and then the week after they were like, "Oh, you're going to travel with the squad to Catalan Dragons as a travelling reserve." One of the boys' passports was too damaged, and you go through passport control, like the plastic bit. She went, "I can put my finger under this. I can touch the face. Like you can't come through." The whole team laughed at first, like hilarious, and then she was like, "No, seriously, you can't go through." So they're like, "Oh, go to like the embassy or whatever, get a new passport." But he just went straight home and went to the pub. So like a couple of days have gone by. The coach has gone, "I'm gonna put you on the bench. You're gonna make your debut this weekend." I'm like, "Okay." Cool. So he's like, chuck me on with like 20 minutes to go. It's like 35 degrees. We're winning by like 8 points or whatever. And everything that I'd learned up until this point didn't do any of it. Everyone was knackered. I was on the right side. There was a tap on the left side of the pitch. They went, "Go carry." You're fresh. You go carry. Just like carried wherever I could. Everyone was dehydrated, sunburned, knackered. We ended up winning the game. I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. So how was that game when you're getting that call? So obviously, like, you've just had that emotion of, okay, you're going to make your debut in one of the most unlikely circumstances, because that's not very often that happens. But when you then, because I imagine, I don't know how a guy normally travels when there is travelling reserve, because there is the chance, like a pulled hammy is the most notorious thing in rugby.
Yeah.
But are you really wired focused in, or are you kind of like, this is going to be a nice weekend away with the boys, and then I might catch a ball
off to the south of France, just like be a good bloke. Get to know the team. That's why I'm there. We were there for 4 days. It was literally, I'm pretty sure it's just to get to know the team and have a few drinks after the game. And the player that whose passport was damaged was a forward, and we had another forward travelling reserve. So I thought logically you'd put him in.
Yeah.
And he went, "Nah, I'm gonna put you on." And then all the boys were like, "Yeah," and I was like,
"Shit."
Oh my God. Yeah. I was like, yeah, this is happening. No longer holiday mode. Hydrate. I was like, hydrate.
You're just emptying out the flask that had vodka in it. You're like, I'm gonna have to actually put water in this now.
Yep. Yeah, in the space of like a month, I played for like Hull's reserve team,
Yeah.
which is basically full of youngsters.
Mhm.
Then I went on loan to Doncaster League just to get
Yeah.
game time in League One, and then I played for Scholars, like another League One side, to get game time near London Broncos.
Mhm.
Then my fourth game was Super League away at Catalan Dragons. So like I've it's just
Thrown in the fire, yeah.
just like shut up, and I'm just going, what the hell has just happened?
Yeah. How
Yeah,
was because what I think would be quite interesting there is because this what most people talk about rugby is as you get higher up is the speed increases. The obviously people as you get more professional, people get more built, the pain gets larger, but the speed is what people notice. Did did everything around you feel really fast? Because obviously you're trying to learn a new code, or was it once you got the boots on, you're like, okay, different style pattern on the shirt, less rocks, but this is still I know what I'm good at.
yeah. So you've got your scrums. We've all defended scrums. It's like a
Mhm.
position wise. When you get the ball um, out wide, it's way more organized. Like
Mhm.
as a back, you could end up defending 20 odd meters of space. Like there's everyone's around the ruck because of pick and goes.
Yeah.
But it's way more calculated in league and numbers wise, and people are always trying to get to different points on the pitch. And when you
Mhm.
run a max move, the picture's pretty much the same every time. So like it's an ideal setup every time you get it.
Right.
So it's a case of hoping or seeing if someone's tired or someone makes the wrong move. But you're running the same move all the time. So you end
Mm.
up like you basically end up in like an arm wrestle, waiting for someone to go the wrong way and leave an overlap somewhere. So it's like faster, but at the same time, it's it's the case of if when you write it down, I've done this hundreds of times. Like I've run this move.
Yeah.
I've run a lead. I've run a lead line with someone in behind. Like I've
Mhm.
caught a ball. Like, yeah, I've sidestepped someone. They're all things I've done so many times. Don't get caught thinking I'm in a different code. Everything's different. It's not.
Yeah.
It's still rugby, and there's still things that I've done. They're just slightly different rules.
Mhm. Wow. That's. I was going to ask you, but I think you've summed it up quite nicely there. It's like the main difference you found when switching over to League. You've kind of said it there. Of the, it's still the same, different implications to that. But it sounds like League is more of a. It's weirdly more of a tactical game. It sounds like if it's a measurement of inches. I watched a lot of American football analysis because that's so coach drilled, and it's a case of you just need that one person to do that one step the wrong way, and things go Pete Tong. Is that how you describe the tactics of league? It's a very more a game of like it's a game of inches in the mind type thing.
Yeah. So say on the short side,
Mm-hmm.
they should have four players in front of you to defend your four.
Yeah.
But someone's tired and they've run to the open side, and we've got an overlap. So in the moment, you just got to go. That's one of the things we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's an overlap. Run the move. Go. Like you're looking for someone to get off the floor slowly. Like you could have reviewed it before the game. Like this person, if we run around him for a whole set, like you would keep him making tackle 3-4 times,
Yeah.
purposely go at him, then he won't want to carry. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
tactically take people out of the game or kind of try and exploit their weaknesses. So it's the same in Union, but it is a game of inches, and you're waiting for that one person to make the wrong decision. You just got to be ready to take it.
God, you'd hate to be that guy that makes the wrong decision. So after you did that stint at Broncos, obviously, do you then tell me the story of the Ottawa situation? Because that was I had so much excitement for that because I was like Canadian team, this will be cool. You're in Ottawa for God knows what reason they chose Ottawa, but they chose Ottawa. There's a few nicer cities you could have had, but then so just walk me through that because that sounds. The honest is I was put when I was reading it to try to look at it to think of a way to ask you about it. I was raging and angry on behalf of you and like the rest of your potential teammates were like, what, like we've just been dicked around. Like how did that whole situation come about, and how did it feel?
COVID. COVID is the answer. Um, so after that trial at Broncos, they signed me for a year and a half, and 5 games into 2020, 2020, season got kind of postponed, not called off, because we still had to stay fit in case, it'll only be 2 weeks, lads, we'll be back.
Yeah, 4 weeks is what they said, wasn't it?
Yeah, 4 weeks.
2.5 years later.
Yeah, 4 weeks then into the season.
Yeah.
And everyone's contract played out, and the club's deciding whether they want to go part-time, what they want to do with the budget. So basically everyone's contracts were just running out. And then they did run out. But the opportunity in Ottawa came up. New team. Like they got together 22 boys basically. We're gonna live near Manchester for like half the season.
I was gonna say, actually, you were gonna be based in England, weren't you?
Yeah, it was gonna be in the north of England, pretty much, where all the other tems are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to be.
It makes sense to put one there.
You want to be where you want to do the less traveling when you're up.
Yeah.
So, we're going to be based around Manchester, and then we'll do like long stints, 2-3 months in Ottawa to play all our games at once. But yeah, it was such like an exciting prospect, and I was like, yeah, I'm in. Put all my stuff in storage there. Looked for a house to rent. All the COVID stuff hadn't really blown over at that point. And it came out that we weren't going to be allowed to play any games in Canada. So it didn't make sense for any sponsors to put money in. They were like, well, we can't play here, then I don't know, we'll just put it off for a year. Which is what they did. But in the meantime, they were kind of like,
sorry guys, can't pay you. You're not playing.
A month before pre-season, they're kind of like, well, maybe next year. We're like, everyone's got their teams now. What are we going to do? So it's basically a free-for-all for everyone else trying to scramble finding clubs. Yeah, it was super exciting, and then kind of horrible all at once, because you just like became unemployed over a Zoom call.
I know. Is that what it was? It's just a case of like, oh, it's like, thanks for your commitment, but this isn't a thing anymore. End call.
Yeah, it's like, well, there's no club, so like, it's like, what can you do?
I was gonna say, how does that affect? Because you in the course of your career, you came close to that. You've always had the talent and the skill that you were never actually going to be without a club. You've always been able to be, okay, so I'm not playing here. It's not I'm not playing.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Because is that the first time you've probably not had a club at that point, excluding the Wasps sort of coming down era into the Hull trial?
I think so. I mean, after London Irish, that was a brief moment, because that was off the back of a knee injury, and then it was kind of like, we're not going to keep you. And then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So it's like familiar territory, but it had been a few years. It was kind of like, oh, we're back here.
Yeah.
But no, that one, because we were so like, the contract was signed, basically. Yeah, it was signed, and I was like, this is what's going to happen this year.
Because that's a commitment as well from like not just you, but like obviously the family, because you're doing, like you said, you're doing 3 months in Canada. That's not oh, sorry love, I'm traveling because we're up in the north, like we're playing Newcastle this weekend. That's we're going to a new continent to try and grow a sport that not has no business being there, but it's a competitive market it's fighting in.
But it was a really exciting prospect, which is like what we all signed up for. But yeah, that fell through and kind of ended up in no man's land with a lot of the boys. People got picked up by their old clubs and everything else. Actually, how I ended up in France, to be honest. It's like after a couple of months, of not really like hearing anything. A couple of the boys I played with were like, we've seen what's happened, like speak to our coaches or whatever. So I had a couple of chats with coaches here and there. They came to nothing. And one of the boys was like, there's a team out in France in like the Elite One in their competition that need a player. Like the season started, but get one bed flat, play rugby, and see, like, at that point I was like, I don't care where I go, I need to go.
Yeah.
And the week before I was meant to fly out, they went, the sponsors pulled out, no contract. I've gone, I need to tell my parents this now. Day after he's gone, there's a team in the Elite Two, like the league below.
Yeah.
Part-time, but they pay for you to live and play rugby. Oh, God. They said they need a fullback. Told them you can play fullback. I thought, sweet, I'll play fullback. Like, when I was 13, it was like,
if you say I can play fullback, I can play fullback.
I've caught a ball before. I'm going to tell him I can play fullback. So I went out there after 2 training sessions. Season got put on hold because of COVID, and then it got cancelled because they were part-time. They're like, not worth the risk. So they were like, you can go home if you want. So like, what? He's like, or you can stay here for like the rest of the season. I was kind of just like a few months left, and I was like, right. So with my wife, I'm like, what should I do? I'm like, might as well kind of
stay here.
Yeah. It's like, so we just stay here and see. And my mate at Toulouse Olympique was like, well, you're an hour and a half away now. So do you want to come on? Like, I'll put you in touch with the coach and ask me if you want to come on trial. It's like, yeah, all right then. So I ended up going on trial for a month, and they ended up signing me for the rest of that season. So like it was from just randomly going places. I ended up within range of Toulouse to go on trial. It's been like my third or fourth trial. I don't even know of this league alone, because I didn't have enough experience to get signed off the back of it. But I was kind of like, well, I just kind of have to show them I can play rugby, and then like, I believe I could get something from this. So they signed me that year. I played a couple of games, and like they signed me on like, the season after, which was last season. And I've just re-signed another 2 years. So like it's a lot of
congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
How sweet did that contract feel when you signed that though? That must have been like I've bet on myself and this has paid off.
Felt relieved. Like emotional and like relieved to kind of be somewhere, like because
they love you there though, don't they? They like, you are a proper fan favorite already there at Toulouse.
Might just be the hair, but it's a part of me, so I'll take it. But since Wasps, that was a 2-year deal. I just 1 year, trial. Like and over that time, I have so many mates that just kind of retired and called it quits. Like which I could have done. Like in that time, I spoke to, like before I went on trial to league, I spoke to old Altarians about them putting me through my teaching and like becoming a teacher. Like I was just kind of like, not sure what I'm going to do, but I kind of bounced around the idea of retiring and everything else. And I'm like, well, I still want to play. I still love the game.
Yeah.
And like I'm still basically still going now off the back of believing. I'm like, well, if they just see me, then like something could happen. So I basically could have easily retired several times along this journey.
I love that. I love it because it's so I think it's a nice, so the whole, as you can see, is I've crudely edited onto the screen behind us. The whole new tagline is "Refuse to fail," and that came about from, I heard a quote somewhere and I heard it in passing, but you know it's a good when you hear it and like you're not listening for it and it sticks with you. And it was somebody saying everybody wants to succeed. Wanting to succeed is no longer enough. You have to refuse to fail. You have to be. This is like it's this or nothing in a sense. Obviously, it's dramatic for sport, but you have to refuse to fail. And I think you really embody that, which is one of the reasons why I messaged you and I brought you on. So not only that, we're now talking about how like Toulouse Olympique is you've became whether even if you think it's just for your hair, I think you're a cult hero. The stats show that you were beneficial to the team because you the season didn't go the way you guys wanted it as a team, but you won a lot more games when you played. I'll be the one to say that. You don't have to say that, coaches, if you're listening. I do not speak for Guy Armitage. I happen to speak in the same conversation as Guy Armitage, but I do not speak for Guy Armitage. But I think you're really good. And then I always like to ask, now that I've got this, that refuse to fail mentality, is there something that you might not know you had until you've heard that phrase that I've just said to you there that you'd like to tell younger people, even if it is just refuse to fail, just keep trying?
Yeah, if it's what you really want to do deep down, you'll find a way. Like it might be easy for some people, but it won't always be easy. And there will be times that test you when there is a way more logical solution and just a way out. Just think, well, why don't I just do this instead? It's way less stress and, probably be relatively happy. But like when I was younger and teachers asked me what I wanted to be when I was older, and I said, I want to be a rugby player. I want to play rugby. That's in me. I started playing rugby when I was 4. I don't think I've done anything else in my life longer than I played rugby. Like it could have been anywhere else. Like I don't know, I could have picked up an instrument at that age, and that might be my goal. But for me, rugby is what that thing is, and it's a massive part of my life. And when eventually when I do retire, it's gonna be me. It's gonna be my decision because I've decided that now's the time. Now's the time I want to call it a day.
I love that, but you still got 2 years left. Don't start talking like that yet.
No, I still want to play. Don't worry. Like it's still there. It's still heavily there.
Yeah.
But
we've got to see you in the Super League first.
Yeah. Don't let other people tell you can't do it.
I love that.
It's happened many times, and it just depends. Honestly, it could depend on a person. Might be a different coach, might play a different system, whatever it is. It might just be a different environment. Like people work differently all the time, so you don't assume that you are the problem because you might be exactly what someone else is looking for.
Wow. I think that's a beautiful place to end it. The refuse to fail story of Guy Armitage has been. I'm truly inspired. I've been lucky enough that I'm recording a few podcasts on today, and I was saying it to the guy I had on earlier. I don't want to give his name away because I don't know what order these podcasts are going out with, so I might ruin a potential spoiler for myself. But yeah, I've been speaking to you guys today, and I'm quite motivated at the best of times, but I've been ready to run headfirst through a brick wall today. And I think this has been really, Guy, you are a truly inspiring man. And I think I can't wait to watch how you get on with Olympic Lyon. I keep thinking the football thing. Toulouse Olympique today. Like that's the football knowledge. I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to see how it unfolds. Knowing you as a person, I just love watching how you're growing. Obviously, how you, as you said at the very start, you're Guy, the human being who happens to play rugby. You're not Guy, the rugby player. But now it does come to the bit. You've spoken beautifully. Now it's time to throw your mates under the team bus in the creatively named under the team bus section. So this is very similar to the quick fire. It's just the first name that comes into your head. Unfortunately, you have to pick a teammate, but it can be from any team you've ever played on.
Right.
So example, nice one to get. Who's the most determined? Like who's been the most like wire focused player you've ever played with?
Most determined. This is not quick fire. You know, I've got several teams in my head.
We can do Toulouse Olympique if you want. Is that easier?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the most determined. Like, yeah, if we stick to Toulouse Olympique, well, we got Harrison Hansen.
There we go. See, right, okay. So Toulouse Olympique, we'll do the Toulouse Olympique.
Well, he's turning 38 this year.
That is determined. That is determined.
He showed us highlights from 2009 where I was definitely still at school. And yeah, he's basically lived a lifetime of just rugby.
Wow. He must be a withered veteran at this point. Like, he must be hard as nails.
He is. He definitely is.
Amazing. Right, so next question would be, who's the biggest practical joker? Who's the one always pulling pranks in the changing room?
Wait, is this Toulouse or is this everywhere?
If you've got an answer for everywhere that you think's better, we'll go with that.
It was a while ago, but yeah, Sam Edgley.
Who is the most naturally skillful player you've ever shared a pitch with?
Sounds odd, but that's no offense to him. Ryan Lamb.
Really?
Yes.
I like that. That's a good answer, because I reckon there would have not been many people that went with Ryan Lamb.
For a 30-meter
no offense to Ryan.
Yeah.
What was that?
We're on our own try line, and he just goes, yeah, we'll run it, and just sends this like 30-meter pass across. I'm like, this is awesome. We're on. But it's just, yeah, it was effortless.
You just got one guy screaming "Jouet" from the other side of the pitch, and you just, I'll just go for it. Who is the most clumsy? Like, who's the person that's just always like dropping their phone or forgetting their bag, and you can't say the guy that let his passport deteriorate to such a state that he couldn't get on a plane.
Nah, that's not it. Not necessarily clumsy, but I'll never forget it. But at Ealing, Mark Tampin, prop, before our first training session, don't ever pass me the ball. I don't want it. It's like, I'm not here for this.
Don't ever pass me the ball.
Don't ever pass me the ball. What did I do?
Pass them the ball.
Pass them the ball.
Quite right.
10 meters, floating, dead duck. And he's just gone, why?
Didn't even touch it, just left it. I'm not interested in it. Who is most up for a night out?
Yeah. No comment. I don't know.
Yeah, that's media trained.
Yeah, that is media trained. I don't know what you're
Nobody's ever had a beer. We don't drink beer.
We do not.
Nothing but water in bed at 8. That's all we do. I'll let you have a cop out, because I imagine you rugby league boys know how to throw a party. So I'll leave that one with you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Save face. This one might not save face. Who's got the worst fashion sense? Who's turned up in some horrendous clobber over the years?
Sounds weird, but I don't know why. Ryan Lamb's still in my head.
He was probably too busy throwing passes. He wasn't looking at what shoes he was putting on.
It was like brown shoes, flared jeans, long button up that might not be his.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh well. If somebody can help Ryan Lamb with a fashion sponsorship, that'd be great. Who is the most gullible? Like, who's the one that's just always like believes anything you tell him?
Oh my god. One of my teammates last year, Chris Hankinson. So we're walking to the team room in the morning.
Yeah.
He's like, so bet you're pretty good at tennis. I'm like, played when I was younger, you know. Had a few lessons. He's like, yeah. Was he telling me like like, how was Wimbledon? I was like, who have you been speaking to? Been speaking to the boys, and they convinced him that I had played at Wimbledon before
like during the competition.
Yes, before I took over to rugby, that I was actually an elite tennis player. So, yeah, I think him.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Right, who is the best dancer that you've ever had? Always cutting shapes after a victory in the changing room.
In our team, I'd say Dominic Peru. He's
Love
like
that.
the kind of guy that will watch a music video and be able to do it.
I hate him already.
Yeah.
my teenage self hates him.
Yep. Pretty sure there's a video of him, doing the dancing in the rain, slow motion.
Oh, of course he does.
Yeah.
Must be annoying being so cool. Vice versa, who is the worst dancer?
Kieran Murphy. My London Welsh days. Yeah. Yeah.
Two-step extraordinaire.
Oh, did you know?
Because that's what everybody just dance. They have like the pint is gyro stable, like never spills a drop.
But it wasn't like stable. It was just yeah.
Anarchy on the dance floor.
Two-step. It's like a
just swaying at this point.
Yeah.
Right. Who is a future coach? Like when you watch them talk about the game or you watch them talk to the teammates, you think, oh, you've got coach written all over you.
When you look, I think he's probably doing some coaching now, but Eloi Pelissier, like
Fair.
Been around a while and knows a lot and always helping out young kids. So like I think it's already in there.
The wheels are in motion.
Yeah.
I like that. I think you might have answered this earlier with the most determined, but who is somebody that's hard as nails? Like if things went south on a pitch and a lot of shirt pulling started happening, who do you want stood behind you?
Oh, this will go back to London Irish days. Chris Hallerfield.
Great answer.
I don't know if you remember when he got a red card against Leicester for a legal tackle. Right through the prop.
I don't. I'm gonna look it up though because.
Oh, it's definitely on YouTube.
Oh no, I think that was a bit. I don't know it, but I'm definitely gonna have to have a look at it now because you answered that so confidently and so quickly.
Yeah.
Right. Who was? Have I asked you that one? No. Yeah. Who was the most natural athlete? Like when somebody just came on, you just look like you've got an engine. Like you could do any sort of endurance event and just carry on as if it was nothing.
Christian Wade.
Really?
He's like, I'd say he doesn't train hard, but like he's just ready. Just ready. Like, yeah. Doing box jumps and then he just like jump your height and you're like, cool. Easy. Yeah. Speed, fitness, just flying, like absolute engine power.
Buffalo Bills could have used him last night because they were terrible.
Yes, they were.
And they caught him. He must have been very smug about that one. Right, next one. Who had the worst lockdown haircut? Like, who came in and just thought your missus has definitely bought clippers off eBay and tried to salvage that?
To be fair, it's like a weekly occurrence out here because the boys that can't speak French keep going to random barbers in town and they can't explain what they want.
I love that you get a text going, what's the French for a low fade?
On it. I've told you so many times and then I've told them. And then we've gone, when you go here, wait for that guy.
Yeah.
And they've gone, I didn't wait. I just went into the other guy. You're like, this isn't chance. This is years of narrowing it down. Flower that understands. And he's just, yeah. We had our pictures today and one of the boys is like,
Oh no.
Wearing a hat. It's like, look what you do.
I'll put the club video on. I'll model the store.
Like 0 to like the rest of his hair, and it's just
no.
yeah.
Oh, that's the worst part is as well, because you could not say anything to try to save the situation, because if you don't speak French, you're just sat there like, oh great.
Yeah. So he's just like, come in, picture day in the afternoon. It's like,
guys, I've had a shocker.
Yeah.
Do you know what you should do? The club should invest for next year. You should find an English-speaking barber and bring him in for picture day and just pay him. Because I reckon all the boys would chip in if they like charge some extortionate day rate, and just like, oh, we'll all chip in.
Some of the boys do, and then they think it can't be that hard, and then they just, do it themselves and completely mess it up.
No, braver folk than I.
Yep.
So, who was right? Last two. Who has the best tunes? Like, who is somebody that you're kind of always happy when you see them with a speaker, whether it's in the gym or post game?
Can I say me?
Yeah. If you've got banging tunes, you put a lot of pressure on yourself for the final question. But yeah.
Oh no, it just depends. Depends on your crowd.
Mm. Oh, if a skill has been able to read a room of who's in
near
there.
the speaker, who's listening to the speaker.
That's it. Who looks like they're about to go for a PB in the gym, because we need to cater to them.
Yep.
Right, and then the last one, who hogs the mirror the most post game? Who knows they've got an interview with the TV cameras and they're spending a little too long looking at the hair?
I think there's a few boys that had the hair gel today for the pictures. Don't forget your hair gel.
I love that you're really going in depth about this, because this means I'm getting a genuine answer at this.
I know there's someone in there. Say Kieran Murphy again.
Kieran Murphy.
There's...
You've got to have the trim on point.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, that is under the team bus. Hopefully you don't get any texts from any of the boys being like, you think what?
Yeah, I think I might.
Oh well. Well, now all we have to do is round off what has been an incredible podcast. I could have talked to you for hours upon hours on end, because I've really enjoyed this. But we have to let my wonderful listeners get on their way. So we end that with the final question. You've just won the big trophy. You've just got promotion back to the Super League with the boys. You've been trusted because you're the god of the speaker and the tunes. You've got 3 songs to get the team ready for the night out, which we don't have because the boys don't drink and we're always in bed by 8 p.m. So you're getting them ready for the fruit shoots.
Yep.
What 3 songs are you picking and why?
You got Casey and the Sunshine Band, Give It Up.
Love that. Great song.
There's everyone that joins in.
Mm-hmm.
Na 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 na. And then everyone joins in. Yeah, get the people involved. This one catches people off guard, but then they love it. It's Gypsy Kings, Bombaleo.
Love that. Love that.
Get into it.
This is so South France as well, and I'm loving this.
Can't resist. Yeah, and then kind of just, I was caught between a couple. So there's a Bongo Cha 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 from Good Boys.
Love that.
Good beat to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or a song that creeps into my favourites and most played is Ness and Dorma.
That would be a typical rugby thing to end up though. Like you can imagine one of the props like on the bus just singing that like as an initiation song.
Yep. He's got an opera voice. Yeah. Who would have thought?
Guys, he's got some lungs on him. Yeah, you're singing Nathan Dorma.
Yeah, that's me.
Guy, that has been absolutely perfect. All we need to do now is tell the people where they can follow your incredible story on social media.
Follow it at Mr. Guy Armitage. Guy Armitage was taken. I don't just didn't want to be a bit formal. At Mr. Guy Armitage. That's that's on Twitter and Instagram.
Sorted. I love it when somebody's got the same handle, but all links will be down in the description for guys, so you can follow them there, so you don't have to try and do that awkward thing where you type in and you flip through apps. Make it nice and easy for everyone. Last thing for you guys to do, the listeners, after enjoying this podcast, is like, share, follow, retweet, do whatever you need to do. There's new social medias cropping up every day. If you're one of those fancy people that gets on there ahead of me, let me know. I'll get on there. Please share, tell your friends. It allows me to get incredible people like Guy on. It allows me to branch out. It gets the followers up. My Instagram DMs are running really, really thin on the ground at the moment because I keep pestering everybody on Instagram. So please like, share, follow. See you all again next week for an incredible episode. I've loved this. Goodbye. See you all soon.